You can use the Windows command line or like PowerShell. You can do SSH over that and actually find that it works a little better than the PuTTY window.
No, I don't think anybody who's SSHing anywhere.
I don't know. I see it open on one of the screen shares.
I'm SSHing. Oh wait, we're supposed to not be talking right now, huh?
Yeah.
I guess we can just do that thing where like you just talk like you don't know that you're on air, but you are on air.
Is that a thing?
I think that's a thing. That's what the pros are doing these days.
What's on the screen right now? What's it say? That's it. David's doing it. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. But just pretend to be quiet and just the sound of vaping. This morning's podcast is brought to you by the sound of vaping.
I think it's quite relaxing. Just
take a deep hit of those cinnamon unicorn cotton candy dreams.
The nice sizzle of Chinese chemicals.
Feel that nickel hit your lungs. Good morning, afternoon. Welcome to Funcles Radio, 99.9999999 on the dial. That's 11 nines if you're paying attention.
So 11 nines.
I'm your host. What's my name? Jeff?
This is Jeff, and then Shardy B. We are the only producers of 11.9 Radio coming to you live Saturday morning.
What's with the image? Can we get some cameras over here? I think our producer's taking a nap. Are we live? Is this live? Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Hey, Jeff. Good morning.
Good morning, Steven. I haven't seen you for so long.
It has been a minute. Good. I like your Zoom background today.
Yeah, it's totally virtual. I'm in a green room in a basement.
Yeah, that's nice.
There's not even coffee in my hand. I'm just lifting my hand up, and I'm actually in one of those motion tracking suits right now.
And this week's episode is brought to you by Houseplants
and guitars.
Houseplants, guitars, and coffee cups.
It's also brought to you by Pepe. What? What? It's okay.
That was a good rehearsal. A good rehearsal, though.
Yeah. This is where we're quiet, or where you vape due to the same jokes?
This is the vape part, I think.
Okay. It's kind of like a modern Cheech and Chong record. Is this recording, man? Are we on? Do you hear? I don't hear any music. Is it playing somewhere else?
It's not for you. It's for the other people.
Oh, there's other people? I thought it was just me and you and Henry.
Shh, they don't know about Henry yet.
Oh, I mean, me and you. Let's edit that out.
Yeah.
It is live on YouTube now, but I don't hear us on it, so he hasn't cut over yet.
Oh, really? That's good.
Does he know that?
You're watching the... Oh, this is live now?
Is the audio working? What happened?
Live on YouTube. Good morning. Good happy Saturday, everybody.
Live on YouTube, 99.999999999. 11 nines joke. Good morning. Is this working? Are we live?
We are live.
Hello, welcome to the two fun uncles, the Funcles, as they call us on the internet. I'm Funcle number B. Funcle A? I'm Funcle A for sure.
Yeah, definitely Funcle A, Jeff, and I'm Funcle B, Shardy B.
Oh, it makes sense because Funcle Shardy B.
Yeah, coming live Saturday. We've been doing this podcast every Saturday, just bringing you relevant ScPrime news, crypto charts, relayer guides. Right now, we've been on our series discussing relayer technology, its applications, use cases, and how you can use it in your day-to-day data storage.
As well as general ScPrime information, fun, knowledge, facts, incorrect facts, and the state of the internet. We've been reading the entire internet this week, so we're prepared to tell you all the information.
We're basically like biological chat GPT, if that was a thing, where we're scouring for information and we're condensing it into a nice TLDR for all you fine folks watching. So,
and even the non-fine folks.
Even the non-fine folks. So thanks for tuning in.
Good morning. Good morning.
So what's going on this week, Jeff? I know we had provider meetup on Thursday with Henry.
So every 2 weeks in the ScPrime Discord, our dear friends Henry and Ken do a little fact-filled update live in the Discord on a call. I didn't listen to it this week because I was working.
Bummer.
But I did see some fun information come out. David, you want to pull up my screen share? The number one win this week, or the number one big news that I know, is Examiners on sale. $200 off the 16 and the 64. That brings them to $14.95 and $24.95. There's some refurbs on there still for $19.95. And the new the fourth SKU in the lineup here is the Bare Examiner. So you get the hardware, you get the 4-bay, you get the full license without having to pay for the overhead of drives, if that's how you see it. If you $500 less than 16 terabytes, right? So
yes. So let's focus on that. Let's focus in on that for a second, because I'm actually pretty excited about that deal, and I think it's a really good it's a good intro for some people, right? Because if you don't necessarily want to devote the full price of the Exa to get up and going on the network and to start earning passive income with ScPrime, you say you're somebody that builds computers, or you have servers already, or you just have drives laying around. It's not that abnormal for us computer guys to have some 2 terabyte and 4 terabyte drives sitting around. So you buy this chassis for under $1,000, and then you can kind of bring it up and bring up the capacity over time, which I think that's pretty neat, right?
I think it's great. And listen, a couple of laying around drives is one thing. You don't want to be using your old dead Chia, a bunch of 1 terabytes. But guess what? How much does a 16 terabyte Exos cost on Amazon?
I think last time I checked, they're around $290 to $300.
Yeah, I was going to say around $300, right? So Look at that, $995 for a bare unit, $300 for a brand new 16. You're $200 cheaper than the 16. Sorry, didn't mean to ruin it for everybody, but and you're also on the way to a 64, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, the way the Exo works, it puts it all on drive by drive by drive now. So you're going to fill up that first one, bring in a second one when you start to get some notice, or when you see one on sale, or when you just feel like you want to ape into some more hardware. Plug it in there. That thing it's hot. It's like you pop open the door, you put it in the sled, you click it into place, the software recognizes it, it auto formats it, loads it all up, and there you go. The other thing that's cool, right? All of these sales, I'm not sure about the refurb, so whatever, but the 16, the 64, and the blank one come with 1,000 SPF-B.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth mentioning that all of the sales from these devices go directly to fund Ken's up and coming pizza empire that he's been working on lately.
Oh yeah, he's been taking some tips from me, hasn't he, Ben?
Yeah, so I just wanted to make a note of that
we've been
does go to a great cause.
I mean, I think that's actually not what it goes for, but it's still good to feed Ken.
Yeah.
that's an important thing. We were talking in the SCP channel in the coin thread, of course, where all the important pizza talk happens, about pizza this morning. So it's kind of the joke. We wanted to lead with the important Examiner stuff, but the next part of the Examiner, remember, is the full update has dropped, right?
Yeah.
Because the fork comes in how long now? 10 days, we're thinking?
I think we have 8 days is the last I saw. There's a calculator or a countdown timer out there. I saw it this morning. I think 8 days we're looking at.
It does keep growing, right? Because as it's a block-based timer, so like it's basing it now on them being 10-minute blocks. They usually aren't exactly 10-minute blocks, so it quickly stretches in the end. You'll find, but that's not the end. That's not the point. You need to upgrade your Examiner. You need your DIY to just the new software. So when the fork happens, we were looking on the Examiner.net and the docs about how to upgrade to a new SPD release. So I've got pulled up here the Linux. I'm going to say that this is a little call out to the team. We looked in the Linux full license software installation guide. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's information on how to upgrade to a new SPD release. I couldn't find an anchor for that. That'd be really cool. I'm going to assume it's the same thing. So basically, when you're trying to upgrade, you just do it in the command line. You sudo docker stop Examiner. You figure out where it is. You do a little delete the file.
Yeah, I did this. I actually did this process yesterday, and I was a little rusty on it, and I get a little impatient with the guides sometimes, right? So I asked the question, and it's like you basically just remove the old SPD. You stop. Well, you stop
it first, and then you remove it.
Yeah, stop it first, remove it, restart the Docker container, and then it automatically pulls the new SPD version. And one little thing I found really useful, if you don't remember where you installed everything at, you can use the find command in Linux. So you just type find-iname SPD, and then that'll list out exactly where it is in your file system, and then you just cd to that directory and bada bing.
Listen to this guy. It's like he knows how to use Linux.
That's questionable. Yeah.
We know. Listen, we know in this community, there's sometimes been a lot of pushback on using Linux, right? We run it for these things. Is it our daily drivers? No, we're not that nerdy. I mean, we're pretty nerdy, but look what we're doing right now on a sunny Saturday. So you want to get that done this week, right? Yeah. Next Saturday, when we have this call, we're going to be yelling at you because you probably have 2 days left to do it. At that point.
If you don't hit the upgrade and we fork, which we saw a little bit of this at the previous fork, is you lose your contracts, you lose your data, we lose data off the network. It's a lose situation all around
and everybody shows up in the Discord saying, "What the fuck just happened to my data? Oh, my Grafana looks really bad." Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah.
So here we are, warning you. Put a big flashing light, warning. So what else is in the Funternet today? Oh yeah, we got Pepe. We're not supposed to talk about this too much.
I wonder if I'm buried on my short right now. I am getting kind of buried on my short. Not horribly, but
it's sitting there. It's not. It hasn't gone that far. So listen, you see Pepe and you think we're just chasing nonsense. That's not the point. The point that I want to talk about is crypto and blockchains and the whole fucking economy are stuck under all interest rates and negative pressure, and crypto's getting a bit of a shakeout, right? And we watched that happen over the past year, and especially we watched it happen in SCP price, and it no more than anything else. Everybody's down 80-90%.
Yeah,
and when we show Pepe on the screen here, and when we hear about Pepe, I personally believe that this is what inspires people. You know, people want hope in an investment, especially when it's a fucking gambling one. They don't want, logic is logic, but hope is what makes people feel alive, right? I got a text last night from a ex-boss. I haven't talked to him in years, and it just said, Pepe $, did you buy some?
That's when you know that the market is shifting, is when you have people that are not crypto guys, not even in this space like we are, and they come up to you and they're like, "Hey, what do you think about this Pepe? What do you think about?"
Did you hear about that? Did you hear?
I've gotten a little bit of that this past week too, from probably 2 or 3 different people around my job site. So they know I'm the crypto guy, and they're not typically interested in it, but you see stuff moving, and yeah, it excites people. It kind of gets stuff going a little bit. So,
and that's what's great, because it doesn't just stay there. Listen, it may feel like it's sucking liquidity out of everything, and it kind of is. Mm-hmm. But it's sucking it out of these illiquid places. It sucked it out of NFTs. It sucked it out of these apes that were worth $150,000, but they actually weren't worth that. They were just stuck with it. That money was stuck in it. And
it's a good point.
When somebody sells an ape for $70,000, right? Or they sell it for $40,000 on the floor to get their money out, to put it into Pepe, they are freeing up money.
Yeah.
It's like a weird crypto M2 thing. That money was locked into something that they couldn't touch, because you can't break off $100 worth of a bathing ape.
Yeah.
Bored ape. You can't just go, oh, I'm gonna. They have these messed up things where you could lease them, and where you could lock them and you could stake them, but they were still, all that value was still stuck in that damn thing.
All or nothing with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. When that money leaves those places, when it goes to Pepe, or it goes to Meth Coin, or it goes to wherever is the hot new thing, it goes there, and then it's going to say, okay, what's next?
Right.
And it's going to say, where do I go next?
And then what else is there? Then there's fresh USDT on the market. There's fresh USDT sitting around that's been transferred out of other assets, from the NFT to the PP to the
free market.
Yeah.
To the what do you got?
Yeah.
And to the logical. And one thing that I watched in the last week with these meme coins is it's not just people breaking locked liquidity out of $100,000 NFTs. Mm-hmm. It's people breaking liquidity out of just shit coins.
Right.
Like token projects that were like, well, one day this will be worth something. I believe in this. And that was our old bet, right? We used to throw coins in 100 different directions and go, well, I'll put $100 on that and see what happens. And people are just going cash out, cash out, cash out, cash out. And that's new money.
Yep.
And it's, we're opening up the supply. So there's been a lot of great alpha in the Discord, in the SCP Discord, talking about money supply, talking about price coin, talking about Bitcoin halvings. We're like 1 year away from the next one. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys were around in 2020, but Bitcoin, it was the beginning of the pandemic. Bitcoin was $3,000, right? What was the next stop? 69.
Right. And it happened quick. It happens quick too.
It was just it was a race. Then we got this mess happened, right? This money supply. We were in the pandemic still. I think Bitcoin halving after pandemic is cleaned up, and money is cleaned up, and we're going to have some inflation. And this is no financial advice. This is just keep your eyes open.
Yeah.
Look at these big picture stuff.
It feels like right now is the time to keep accumulating. It's not gonna stay down forever. It never does. It never has. I don't think it ever will. So it's definitely buying opportunity. You know what I mean? When everybody else is scared and trying to figure out what to do with their money.
Yeah, not advice, and do your own research always. But just when it feels bad, that's the blood in the streets, right? Yeah. And that's when you got to go, hey, breathe deep, touch grass, go outside, go for a walk, take some time. If you spend 4 years in the basement and you never go outside, you know what happens? they open a fucking Trader Joe's a mile from your house and you don't even know it's there. You're sitting there and you're like, all we got is Walmart in Colorado.
And you could ride your bike to Trader Joe's the whole time.
Yeah. You could tie your German Shepherd to the front of your electric skateboard, and you can put your Merrell moccasins on, and you can zip down the bike path.
Go get that fresh pizza dough.
Right, man.
It's
That's
right
how
there.
you come
It's
back
right
alive again.
It's right there waiting for you.
All right. So the main subject for today is, so last week we set up a relayer on my rocket ship, right? On my Photoshop couch relayer. David, can you pop up the screen share again? So last week we set up a relayer here for me. I got it zoomed in a little bit. I'm not hiding anything. It's just we wanted to have it big enough so that you can see. Over the past 24 hours, I set up my my access, the certificates that give outside access to the relayer. So now this is really important because it's fine and dandy to back up from inside your house. I just said fine and dandy, by the way.
That's totally okay.
If you want to back up from your computer to your relayer, you never go to Trader Joe's. You just stay at home. You don't need to actually get any files from anywhere else. Then you can have the extra security, of course, of not being exposed to the internet. But to back up or access files or share files, you're going to need some kind of certificates set up. And there is a great guide on the XNS Tech site. So this is where you set up your relayer. If you see on the left here, relayer, set up your UI, and then at the bottom is your domains, certificates, and proxies. So I think this would be a good time to pull up our special guest, Henry Wilson, Chief Technical Writer for ScPrime Incorporated. And maybe you can give us a little bit of info on this.
Yeah,
Henry, are you there?
I think he could do a better explanation probably. Good morning, Henry.
Morning, Henry.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, always good to see your smiling face.
Oh, thank you. So that's right. Looks like we can see the doc that I've written here, domain certificates and proxies. So these are all a lot of things that I had heard of before, and that's even as someone that's kind of techie. But I feel like until you actually do it yourself, or until you're kind of into web hosting, those just kind of stay as words that you've heard of and don't really know what they do. So domain certificates and proxies, I named the article that way because those are all three things that you're going to need if you want to host a public relayer, at least one right off your machine. So the domain, I think you guys have a few. Is that right?
Yeah, I bought Funcles.xyz.
And then I've got Steve Clouds, steveclouds.com, and a bunch of others. I kind of just buy domains whenever they seem like a reasonable
sometimes
product.
there's the joke ones out there.
But
that's the thing. You don't need it. It doesn't need to be a professional domain, right, Henry? I mean, it is a professional, but it doesn't need to be a corporate setup with structure. It can just be, this is my fucking relayer.xyz.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I tried to kind of get that point across in the article. So you do need a domain, but it doesn't need to be like a pets.com type thing where it's, the gold standard of naming conventions.
Right.
So I think I have like masterhw.cloud. There's tons of like alternative. It's specifically that ending. If you go with a .com, those are going to be expensive. But there's like .xyz. Yeah. I think T-Roddy has .wtf.
Yeah,
I have .cloud.
You're going to spend $1 a year, or
exactly.
They're dirt cheap.
Yeah,
and it doesn't need to be permanent, right? If you forget to renew it or you want to change it, you're using this. You're not broadcasting this to the bigger world, and they have to remember how to get to your relayer, right?
That's right.
It's if you decide you want to update it to something that's more professional, and it doesn't connect with your website, right? Like if you already had a professional portfolio site, and it was, this is my serious photography site.com. You're just adding a subdomain in the front. So anybody who comes to your site won't even see it, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. That's a good point. You can already have the domain listed for something else and then just add a subdomain on top of it, and that's your relayer right there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of the huge strengths of kind of doing this yourself is when you're actually making the DNS records, although a little bit of a learning curve. So with all of these
Yeah.
things, I promise you can get a handle on it, but there's a little bit of a just small learning curve that you get over, and then suddenly you can have it so funcles.xyz takes you to a main Funcles landing page, relayer.funcles.xyz takes you to a specific relayer domain. You can then even throw a bucket in front of that. There's so much flexibility that you can have so people with just slight different variations of your URL can end up where they need to go.
And that gives you secure access with a rather easy enough URL that really only you and people that you trust need to use, right?
Yeah. And
This
so,
isn't about getting in Google and getting your SEO done. No one cares. They shouldn't be looking
right.
for it.
and that's a key point too. Like, maybe Henry has a better definition of this, but like the reason to use traffic or the reason to use Cloudflare, like if you set it up with a Cloudflare tunnel, it's so that you're not just, because you can easily just expose your IP address to the public, right? You could just make your relayer IP. You can make it to where you can access that from any other computer, but you're going to have some major security issues. So like with traffic and some of these other applications listed in the guide, that's for encryption purposes, right? If I understand it correctly, that kind of adds a security layer to it.
Yeah, that's right. I probably should have then jumped into certificates and proxies because we had a good time talking about domains. So the certificate is something that I think most people have kind of in just their various web browsing over the years seen at some point. You know the little lock screen or the little lock icon in the top left of your browser when you're on like a website. And like occasionally you'll go to a website that doesn't have that, or it'll say like it tried to do HTTPS and then
Or it'll
I don't know.
pop up, it'll pop up the warning,
Yeah,
little warning message says, "Get out of here."
yeah, that warning. So that's where the certificates come in. So that's essentially like a pretty popular HTTPS is a pretty popular protocol that just ensures that the website that you're trying to connect to is the one that you're actually connecting to. So it uses our favorite thing. It uses little cryptographic hashes, cryptographic proofs, so that the IP that you're actually being served traffic from is the one that that is registered with the website. So that sounds obvious, like that sounds like how it should be, and it definitely is. But what that gets around is any kind of attack vectors where somebody could be sitting in between you and the web server and be
Right.
working
Yeah.
both sides and
Gotcha.
feeding you illegitimate information, or just reading all your files as you upload them. Because that's not something anyone wants either. So
And
that's where
right. Since we're trying to be secure and encrypted and decentralized, why leave a hole, right?
And yeah,
exactly.
and another important, the reason that I stumbled across this before the cert guides were out, before, when I was working testing the apps, the reason this is also so important isn't just so that you can access your Minio from anywhere. It's so that whatever S3 applications you're trying to use to send data to the relayer, a lot of those apps are very particular about, is it HTTPS? And the app itself wants to see those security measures in place. So
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Yeah, a lot of S3 apps, a lot of them will want HTTPS. Sometimes they'll allow it even if your certificate isn't valid. But then there are a number that will just you have to use HTTPS and it needs to check out. Like you need to do it the right way.
It'll refuse the connection every time.
Yeah, and I mean, if I were an app builder, I could see why that makes sense to do. Because you want to kind of enforce proper security. Because it's always if you let people take the safety guards off or the safety rails off, and just say, "I hope you really know what you're doing," there's going to be some people that say, "Oh yeah, I know what I'm doing."
Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want that liability as a company, right?
Yeah. So I can understand that perspective.
Right. And so since we're here teaching you how to connect to your relayer, we want to make sure you do it right. So I'm going to say that understanding this is the idea that we want to get through to people. There's a couple different ways to do it. There's with a Cloudflare, which you were telling Henry is a less, using the domain registry is a less desirable manner, and using Cloudflare is more desirable manner. You were explaining that to me.
Well, you still have to buy the domain registry, but what you can do with Cloudflare, and this is the way I set mine up, is you can actually allow Cloudflare to manage your DNS. So you can do the DNS registration all through Cloudflare. You can have Cloudflare generate the certificates that you need, and you can also set up what they call an Argo tunnel that basically reroutes the traffic from your domain to your local relayer. So I know in the guide there's a couple different ways to go about it, honestly, and I fumbled around with them for a week or two when we were kind of initially working on this stuff. And Cloudflare was just what was the easiest thing for me. Once I figured that out, you could just kind of click a couple of buttons and you were done. Yeah, it's definitely the most user-friendly in my opinion.
Yeah, so I do kind of have two scenarios that I set out. The easiest to get off the ground, and I actually learned about this from someone that I was kind of talking through this process. So they bought a domain for their relayer. They got it from a site that I think was really affordable. It was like $1 for the first year or something. He was really proud of that. And then he noticed that they had like an add-on for like $2 more that they would include like SSL certificates for an extra $2. So he didn't even have to go through this whole Cloudflare process. He didn't have to go through setting up a proxy. He could just download from the place where he registered his domain. He could just download certificates, upload them to the relayer, and he got working.
That's pretty good.
You can do that.
That's pretty good for a buck.
Yeah.
So
that's not as
downside of
powerful. That doesn't get us quite everything that we described, but that's a way to definitely get off the ground, and it does what it says on the tin. So you will connect to your domain. It'll have the SSL lock in the top corner, just without some of those extra options that we talked about. So that's where we kind of get into option 2 of leaning into Cloudflare and the proxy.
And now I went through the Cloudflare and the proxy, and I've done it twice now because I hilariously deleted my key to prove how easy it was to delete your key. And so, but when I went back and did Cloudflare, all the DNS was saved because I used the same URL, I used the same domain name, and all my settings were there. I had to generate a new token, a new API token, which took 10 seconds, and plug it back into my relayer. But now, Henry, what is the proxy part?
Sure. So what we do with Cloudflare here, how we described it in the guide, is actually transferring the DNS server over to Cloudflare instead. So that means whenever we make a DNS record, like if we want to say funcles.xyz goes to this IP, but relayers.funcles.xyz either goes to the same IP, could go to a different one, like those kinds of rules. It's almost like a port forward. I saw some similarities anyway, or I drew some similarities when I was kind of going through that process. So that's all managed in Cloudflare, which has some advantages. They're pretty good at what they do. So that's one of the first things that we kind of go over in that guide. But one of the last things that we do in Cloudflare is actually generate that API token that Jeff mentioned. And what that lets you do when you drop that API token in the proxy, which I'm going to get to in a second, it just kind of draws a little secure connection to Cloudflare, and Cloudflare grabs the information that it needs from your proxy and just generates a certificate and hands it back on the fly. So it kind of automatically generates a valid certificate and gives it to the proxy, which is
that's what's creating that secure tunnel between your private information and your private server and the outside world.
And so when we set that up, we're doing it in that Docker Compose YML, right? We're adding in that traffic information. And I know you have to add your relayer name into a few spots. You have to stick your login to Cloudflare information, basically, which is your email, and then that API key.
Yeah, that's right. So the proxy, what it kind of does, it does a couple things for us. So one of the first things, or most obvious things that's nice, is it automatically generates the certs. So another kind of quirk about SSL certificates, they don't last forever. From the moment they're created, all of them have a expiry date, and a pretty typical expiry date is something like 90 days. So in order to not have to go through this process every 3 months, and I have done this manually before, and what really grinds my gears about the 90 days things is that's just long enough that you kind of forget how to do it a little bit.
Yeah.
Just in time to have to do it again next time. So you never get quite good at it.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, so doing it through a proxy. So in this case, we're using traffic. There are, I think, in the guide, I also acknowledge, Nginx and HA proxy or HA proxy. I never know quite how these things are pronounced, but HA proxy we'll go with. You can also use those services as well, but we're just going with traffic because it's probably the most lightweight, and you don't really need to play with it as long as you do your setup right.
Yeah, Nginx was the original route that I tried to take, and it's definitely easy to fumble. You know, if you're not a
Yeah.
little bit more of an advanced user on Linux and stuff like that, it's definitely a bit more of an undertaking.
And now this is
Yeah.
the thing, if anybody's, when they're going through this guide, this is a great thing to come into the Discord and ask for help, right? Like, we have time for this.
Definitely.
Yeah. No, this is a really cool use. This is, I would love to help people get this kind of thing because this is what really puts a smile on my face at the end of the day, is getting people's relayers kind of upgraded in a sense. Like, it's enhancing its capabilities. It's getting it on a real domain. This is what I really like to see. So yeah, I'd be happy to help anybody get off the ground.
And if David, if you pull up the split screen share, we can kind of show. I can kind of show what
Are
this
we going to
allows
do it
you.
live?
Yeah, we'll do it live. Of course, we always do it live.
Okay.
We'll show kind of what this allows you to do, right? And let me kind of explain my relayer setup, just so people know how. There's a lot of different options, right? Depending on your use case, you can do this a lot of different ways. So, like for me, I use. Drag this over. I use a virtual box, right? So I use Oracle VM Virtual Box Manager. Basically, what this does is it makes a Linux subsystem on my Windows computer. All I have to do is I launch this up, which, you know, it just gives me a little Linux within my Windows, right? So this is what actually runs the relayer.
Because you only need a little Linux, really.
You
right?
just need a little Linux. So if you look at, oops.
So, Stephen, what you're going to do here right now is connect from beautiful 135-degree Las Vegas, Nevada, into my relayer.funcles.xyz.
Correct. And I was just, yeah, the point I was trying to make with the VM is that I only launch that whenever I need to actually upload something or download something that's stored on the relayer. So like I have my main workstation here. If I need to access something, I launch the VM, I pull the file, I close it back down, and I don't really need to have the relayer spinning up constantly. And you can see on my desktop here, I have a couple different mount points, right? So what I'm using to do that is an application called Mountain Duck. So it's pretty much as easy as coming in here. You set up all your credentials, access key, secret key. This is going to be your URL. So for that domain name that we purchased, the certs we set up,
Are
that's
you
going
guys
to go
seeing
in.
what's going on with this mouse right here? Is that
Yeah, I
just
don't know
me?
what's happening. It's
It's
there's some
freaking out.
mouse echo on your screen there.
Huh.
He put reverb on his mouse.
Yeah, that's a new effect.
So-
But yeah, so this is where you'll put in all your credentials for the relayer, and what you wind up with is these connections, right? So here's my Funcles relayer. So if I double click here, this brings up, this is at Jeff's house. This is the relayer at his house, his file system. I can come over here.
That's not my file system.
Well,
that is a folder that's called Funcles 2 that I've made up and created a group and given you IAM access to. Remember that, right?
exactly.
This is not on. This is cached through my relayer, but this is in the cloud. This isn't like my computer. It's my relayer, and this is on everybody's examiners.
Yep, exactly. So it creates an easily accessible mount point to where if I want to come over here and say I grab a test file, drag and drop. Of course, I pick the biggest file, But now this is sending from my computer. It's backing up this data to Jeff's exposed relayer.
And if you look at my dashboard in the bottom right there, you can see that there's some burst speeds happening. Or there was. I saw some megabits touching up. How big a file was that? Are you still going? There we go.
Yeah, it's still going. I sent you 10 gigs.
So that's going there. If we look in the Minio, what's the folder called? Your file called?
10 gigabyte test.
Okay, so I'm not.
Like I said,
it's not showing.
It's still caching in Mountain Duck. It's got about 3 minutes left. So
that's fine. Just seeing what we can see as we do this.
Yeah.
So now, like, this isn't to be thought of as Stephen and me and Stephen sharing files. That's not the point, right? We're representing this relayer being somewhere different than the user is. So the user can access their files. The user can back up their files and access them. The user can be one of many users in that IAM setup. If we look on my IAM configuration, you can see here that there's a user named Chumpy. He's enabled, and he's a member of a group called Funcles. So if we look at the groups, there's one group called Funcles. And if we look at policies, there's a policy called Funcles. And that allows, oh, that's messy. Don't look at that. I thought you could see it. That allows Stephen, or the user password Chump, that allows them to see one folder. Because on my relayer, there's a Funcles that I have access to, and there's a Funcles 2 that Stephen has access to.
Yeah, and I can't see that initial that first folder. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Now I have access to Funcles 2 as well because I'm admin.
And I think what's really cool is that it's not just a me and Jeff thing. If somebody else, if you could create permissions for any number of users, right? So you could create a user for Henry. He can use that same, he can either access it through Minio, or he can set up his own S3 apps using the endpoint, using the secret phrase, etc. And then he has access, and you can kind of, you can back up from a lot of different locations.
Exactly. So,
we're doing it live, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that you guys kind of highlighted that this isn't just kind of a neat trick to share files with a buddy. What we're doing here is something that probably any business that has more than one location has had to do, which is set up kind of access to resources across different locations.
And any user that's putting stuff in the cloud, you want to be able to access it from somewhere else too. You don't want to have to be physically near a computer that accesses it. You want it on your phone. It's like, this is what Dropbox does, right? We forget about that. Dropbox is a simple cloud. That's why it worked. It doesn't work because they aren't secure and they want to charge you up the ass for everything you use. But when you put Dropbox and you sync two computers and like work computer, home computer, laptop, you can get that file easy. So we got some stuff coming up here from Stephen. Now, Stephen, if you open up your Mountain Duck of that folder, you can see that I just threw in a full file that's called PXL.
Oh yeah,
numbers.
It's already here on my end.
Yeah,
it's a nice pizza pie.
It's a pizza photo off my desktop. And that's, again, it's not.
Do that again real quick. That was like instantaneous almost. Do another drag and drop.
Let's see what there is that we can add. Oh, here's a good one. They're tiny files.
Right.
But there's one up there now. Maybe. No, it's.
Oh, I shouldn't have called it out.
Yeah, way to go. You broke it. This 360 kilobyte file is just sitting there dead.
It might be in the back of the line if Chum just did a 10 gig.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too.
But it's not even showing it. Shouldn't it be in my Minio? Anyways, there we go. Look at it now. Screenshot it's not titled screenshot and a date.
Oh, I think it just
there
went
he
through.
is. Look at that
There it
dude.
And now on your end, so we did something similar like this before, and what I didn't realize is that Mountain Duck actually has a little bit of its own cache. So there's a delay from taking it from Mountain Duck or whatever S3 app to actually tying it over to the relayer. So now you should see that 10 gig test file, I believe.
I don't see anything really materializing yet, but
No.
you know, but like, listen, this is very efficient, but it's also not meant to be instantaneous file share. This is backup. This is cloud backup.
Exactly.
When you put something up, you're putting it to go up. You're not putting it to be in my computer in 10 seconds. Because I'm on a laptop right now. When you guys see this screen, this is me screen sharing on a laptop from the relayer that's under the couch.
Mm-hmm.
And Steven's connecting to that same couch.
Was that not a meme this whole time? Do you actually have a server under your couch?
Well, I mean, it's not under the couch anymore. I got in trouble for it being under the couch.
Yeah, it was getting a little too spicy under the couch when it was
getting dusty.
Okay.
And then you know what? Under the couch sucked because I had to keep like opening it, pulling it out, and plugging it in, and I'm like, I moved it.
Yeah.
But it's still it's couch relay.
You should just get a nice tabletop for it and turn it into a coffee table.
Well, it's a oh yeah, but I mean then the wires and stuff. It's got to plug in somewhere.
Yeah.
It's a Dell 7810, and it's got a real nice little. I don't know what it's for. Maybe Flux can tell us later. It's got like a 5x8 divot in the middle that looks like to me it's just for rolling joints in, but I'm not sure what else. What they designed it for.
Yeah, that's the root of every IT admin, right?
Yeah.
A nice joint roll in place.
Like I don't know what else goes in that. Like it's a half an inch deep with like a nice rolled edge all around it sitting there.
Zip disks maybe. I know it's an older Dell. Maybe they had zip disks. That was for your zip disk storage.
But it's like it's in the case. It's a dip. You know, it's not a port. It's not an access. You know, like you put a paperback in there real nicely for your when you're reading your Ernest Hemingway and smoking your cigarettes while you're burning DVDs or whatever.
That's essential. That's essential, man. But yeah, I think that was fun. There wasn't that many hiccups for doing techie stuff live. I think that was pretty decent.
Yeah. So going back to the whole point of this, right? This is for backing up. Pretend that Steven is in Las Vegas, where he is, and corporate exists in the cloud. We have a shared access point that you save it as URL, you click into it, your certs are saved on your user end. The admin end can add users as needed. Like I've added, there's a user named Henry that's sitting there. Henry now has access to the same files. I can share that. I can turn it on, turn it off, give people access to things. And you can also control all the read-write functions. So people can have read only, people can have write only. There could be your daily. You could have a daily backup, right? Daily backup is write only. That user.
Yeah. So now that we have this relayer.funcles.xyz, so if Chum is able to access it from Vegas, so in Mountain Duck, what does that setup look like? You just kind of open like a new location and you just give the URL.
So Mountain Duck kind of runs over here in your task pane, and then you'd go here to new connection, and then there's a drop down list of various file transfer protocols.
Okay. So
for us, we're going to use Amazon S3. We're going to do for server URL, we would do relayer.funcles.xyz. Leave the port at 443 because the 443, that's just your regular internet port.
Regular internet, not the decaffeinated internet.
Not the decaf. Yeah, and then access key is going to be that username.
And then the secret key is like a password, right?
Yep, secret key is a password. You can select what drive letter you want to assign for this particular mount point. Don't know if it'll let me do it since I already have one. Maybe we'll see. Since I already have one to that same URL. But yeah, so that's it. And then all of a sudden over really here, in your in your file explorer of your computer. So if I go to like this PC on Windows, this is that Funcles mount point that I just created. So I double click that.
That's a big hard drive.
Yeah,
is that
infinite?
8 exabytes.
And then yeah, from here you can pretty much use it like you would use your regular local file system. You can create folders. You can drag and drop. Yeah, it integrates really well. For me and for what I use the backups for, it just integrates really well into my workflow. Like, I've got.
So it looks like I got some files coming up from you here, Stephen. The cache is starting to accumulate something.
Is it?
Yeah, Henry, I just sent you a DM with a password. Your username is Henry, and that's your password. If you want to poke it all, it's the same folder as Stephen's. Just going on and saying, here we are, one more user in the same matrix that can,
And another thing to note about this is that it's not like you're limited to just using the one app, right? Like I use Mountain Duck. rclone is another example that does a similar thing where it makes a mount point in your file system.
Right. Those are creating basically a drive on your desktop, right?
Yeah. Easy.
That's not a backup. You're not using this as a true backup. You're just accessing a bucket, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm also using it as a backup because I can send to that bucket as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. I meant like this is the base use case scenario.
Right. But you can also use other apps simultaneously. So like for me, for example, I use Duplicati, which is just an app that grabs a snapshot of your computer weekly. It'll do it every Sunday, grabs a snapshot, sends it to the relayer, and I don't even know that it happened. But if I ever need to access it, it's there. So you can kind of run things in stacks. You can have multiple application layers running on top of that same relayer.funcles.xyz. You can tie a lot of different things into that URL if you have different use cases.
And
that's really neat. So I just uploaded a file. Don't know if it's there yet. Don't know if
is
you
it
need
the
to refresh.
DIY milk alternatives JPEG?
No.
Must be.
It's called shoppin.jpg.
I don't think anything has arrived yet, but we'll see. That's this. So right now on the screen is my Minio, right? Which is the base built-in sort of file browser that's included with the relayer. I don't have a mount on this thing, so we can't look at it in that same way, but it's getting there, and that's the point.
And you could also look in the file manager tab of the relayer dashboard, right?
Oh, right. That's a newer feature. I always forget that it's there.
Oh yeah, I never messed with that. Can I sort this? No, not so well. There's a shopping. Look at that. Henry's shopping for SCP. Maybe it's cheaper tomorrow.
And so from that file manager, is that you have a share option too? Like you can copy a link from it, kind of like in Minio, or no?
I can download it, and I can. Yeah, there's two here. It looks like a download button and a preview button.
Okay,
and
cool.
Nothing to.
Yeah, I haven't really messed around with that actually. To try and share through the file manager, and you can definitely do that in Minio. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think I know I get stuck on the Mountain Duck. I know I talk about it all the time. Mountain Duck rclone. It's just for somebody like a YouTuber or for a content creator or for use cases that I'm familiar with, right? I don't know how to spin up Veeam and do all the crazy archival data backup type scenarios. But for like, I need to save, I don't want to clog up my hard drive and I want to send these 2 terabytes of video files somewhere. It's a really simple way to do it. So that's kind of the point I wanted to get across with showing that.
I mean, that's the key use of this, right? That's what cloud is.
Yeah.
Is all this data, all this hockey stick that keeps getting created is
needs to go somewhere.
Up. It's right. It has to go somewhere, and it also wants to back up, and it also wants to be accessible from multiple places. What good is 2 terabytes on one computer if you can't reach it from the other computer, right?
Yeah.
You got to connect to some kind of network. So this is that network.
Yeah.
I think this is really pretty damn amazing if we look at it that way. Pretty magical stuff.
Another thing I just did, I don't think you guys can see, but I just dropped in a DM to Jeff a link that was generated from Minio, and it just populates in Discord as a image. Like it just loads like it would. And
in the DM here? Yep. See, look.
Yeah. I noticed that yesterday. It automatically generates the preview, or like brings in the entire picture.
Right. And if I just for fun here copy message link, oh, that's not going to do it. Never mind. That's just going to copy the link to the Discord. Well, Henry, you guys have done amazing work yet again.
Thank you.
And we are always so happy to have you come and walk us through this. You know, you can see I got my relayer back up here. I'm getting some real movement from, I guess, from Stephen's upload where there's pending uploads of 1.69 gigs. So it's working away here. I'm still on default with my data set, with my provider set. I haven't really messed with this. I haven't especially tweaked my relayer to my network. And that's something that we can work on, I guess. Not today, but in the future.
Right.
Get that thing tuned up. And then we're going to dig into deeper to some software, I think, is probably what we should do next, right? Less of these mounting functions and more of a backup function. We should find some things that are in the guide, and we should set them up and work our way through those, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, having just straight up system backups, and there's so many different options with the applications. I think it would be fun to dive into a few more.
Yeah, so you guys were talking about the docs earlier with the SPD 180 like upgrade process, and you mentioned actually a specific quirk that all of us doc writers, I guess it kind of grinds our gears, which is that the anchors, you can generate anchors, but they don't work if there's a lot of images in the doc. And that's because Gitbooks, for whatever reason, just has this quirk where it will take you to the anchor point on the page, and then it loads in all the images,
and then it goes,
and that just bumps you way down the page.
All right.
Oh, interesting.
So then
that's something that's really bothered us for a while. So we're in the process of actually moving all of our docs. That wasn't the only contributing factor, but it was a contributing factor toward us moving our docs. And we're going to put it actually on the main, for our XNS docs anyway, are going to be on xns.tech.
Right, because right now they're on Gitbooks, right?
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, everybody uses Gitbook, like it is what it is, but it's not the best user experience to like you click on docs and then it just takes you to a completely different website essentially. I mean, the URL I guess is still xns.tech, but it's pretty clearly a different website.
Right. And it makes it harder to search in the SEO and all that stuff too, right?
Yeah.
So, I think then let's say this, let's be provocative, and you can say, no, you don't get paid to work here anymore and it's not worth your time. But an update link would be a great thing for people to, like an actual update link, a hard update page, how to update your 1 to 1.8, especially right now with this push. But again, that's that.
Yeah.
David wants us to talk about the what?
Relayer MT. That's kind of what that's basically kind of what we're showing with the IAM, right? If I understand it correctly, that is.
Well, no, because this is multi-uses of one relayer. The MT is going to have multi-tenants that aren't sharing, having their data mixed together.
The relayer MT is kind of an extension of what we showed off earlier. So what we can already do today is have different users have access to different buckets. They can either like share buckets, they can not share buckets, like you're in total control. But it is ultimately sharing kind of one relayer, and it is still all billed to one user. So what Relayer MT allows is for different customers to be using different buckets and have their billing be specific to their usage. So it's kind of an extension of that idea of sharing, but taken to the extreme, where you can even have different customers, different clients, all running off, I guess, kind of the same relayer, but they don't have to know that each other exists.
Because they can get billed separately, right? Because right now, Steven and I are using my relayer, which is going through my token on the XNS website.
That's right.
And that's great because we are operating this as a company, right? Like we're using the shared data, and you can look at the folder, I can look at the folder because we have read and writes. But if there were true multi-tenancy, would be the ability to have different, separated, segregated, effectively different relayers with different billing, right?
Yeah, and what's kind of pushing that is our partner tier. So they're all interested in setting up relayers, but they kind of had that question of how do I track and make sure that the billing's appropriate for just what each individual used. And Relayer MT is kind of the solution to that. So it is a ready to work out of the box hardware, I guess, kind of like an Xminer, where the Xminer isn't just the hardware, it's not just the software, it's kind of the package. So similar way to describe Relayer MT.
So as a provocative question here, because I always say we shouldn't ask these, in theory, somebody could set up multiple instances on a piece of hardware and put them on different ports and forward those ports and set up search for those ports on one computer, and that would be like an MT?
Yeah, I mean, there's inefficiencies to running
multiple
relayers, but you could kind of do it the hard way. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, that's what the alternative would be. It's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Like if I wanted to bill company B, right? If I wanted to bill some company for relayer space on my relayer, because I'm their MSP, I have to create a whole instance for them, or I have to create a whole computer.
Right. They all need their own device, their own relayer, their own complete setup, pretty much. And this kind of circumvents that, right? It kind of goes around needing to do that.
Yeah. So traditionally, it's kind of one relayer per customer. But what Relayer MT does is you can have multi-customer kind of sharing on the same relayer. So it's just more efficient use of resources.
And it's more efficient, but it's also properly built with the right amount of resources, right? That's the thing.
That's right. Now, because it's a pretty capable. So it is a ready to use out of the box server, but it's a pretty powerful one. Like I think it's dual socket, like 64 or 128 gigs of RAM, and not like old DDR3 eBay RAM. Like it's a modern
the good stuff.
Not like Zach's shoebox RAM. So I have a question about a theoretical question. No, whatever. A guesstimate question. How many tenants can go on an MT?
That I don't know.
Okay.
You would just really be limited by hardware would be your bottleneck, I would think, right? Like
really the only limit is if any of the customers start to not be able to kind of push the limit.
How
so
big
that I guess kind of factors in
like
how intensive each one is. So that would kind of have to be your call. But I would think easily at least a couple, because it's quite the powerful server, and if you put it on just kind of a multi-gig fiber line, you could easily do a couple full 1 gig symmetrical connections at a time.
So the answer's 7.
Yeah, 7. Okay, you Googled it. But beyond that, right, it becomes about resources, become what they actually use. If it's 20 tenants that are backing up some data files, backing up, whatever their updates overnight, and they can set the importance to slow, it doesn't matter as much, right? But if it's a couple data intensive, need access all the time clients, that just is going to push. It makes sense for them to be on their own relayer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and on the partner side, it gives them lots of flexibility for potentially higher paying tiers where you get a lot more exclusivity to a box.
Right. What you need is what you get.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's also an EXA that's going to have some relayer functions. Is that what's going to happen?
The EXA Extreme, is that what?
No. There's Like I'm going
you're talking about the relayer NOS.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
just that's going to be kind of a plug and play. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's like a plug and play relayer instance, pretty much similar to like the XO. You plug it in, you have storage. Relayer NOS, you plug it in, you have backup capabilities.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to describe it. So the Relayer NAS is kind of built on some of the same technology or some of the same platform as Relayer MT. Potentially not quite as high performance hardware, because if you're just one individual, you probably don't need dual socket and everything.
Yeah.
But the idea is that will really be the examiner of relayers. So it's a server that you order online. It shows up, you plug it in, maybe takes you through like a 2-minute config where you just give it a name, tell it your favorite color, and then it is up and running. There's lots of cool things that we could do, or that I would like to do anyway. They're definitely on the wish list. So like auto certificates, ideally as simple of a port process as possible. That's definitely a lesson that we've learned from that.
Right. So
the whole
user mounts it locally, like what Stephen was doing with Mountain Duck. It shows up in their folder. They back up their stuff to it. It backs up to the cloud as needed. It creates cache, local on-site cache can be, you have more room for that, right? You can have more room for the files you actually need right now that don't need to go to the cloud or don't need to be pulled from the cloud constantly.
That's right. Yeah. So everything will still upload to the cloud, but it'll also, the point of that local cache is to keep a copy locally. So it can just serve it to you quickly and as many times as you want without having to pull it from the cloud.
And we do have people in the community that have done a similar thing of the Relayer NOS purpose with Synology. So I think it's Synology. They have their own little backup app that is actually S3 compatible. So they're able to take their on-premise storage device and connect that through that software built into the NOS. They're able to connect to the Relayer, and then their on-premise backup goes into the net whenever they have stuff they need to archive that they don't necessarily need the quick access to, which I think is pretty neat.
Yeah, like Synology has like what they call a Glacier app, right? And that's the Amazon one.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. And right. What else we got to talk about today, guys? I think we are reaching a nice hour mark here of some. We've done a lot. We've seen a lot. We've learned a lot.
I've got two more quick announcements before we get off. California meetup. So Brad Viking in the community decided to put together a little impromptu meetup in California. It's going to take place Saturday, August 19th. He's in Tehachapi, California.
He's in where?
Tehachapi. Jeff,
I
help me here.
don't think that's it.
No. Anyway, it's in California. You can definitely get at us for more information on that.
California's a small place. It's easy to find.
It's down in the bottom by the beach.
It's south of a garbage dump, past El Guadalupe, but before the other garbage dump.
Yeah, exactly. It's a perfect spot. So that's going to be going on. There's more information in the Discord, or you can DM him or me. There's I think about 5 or 6 of us so far that are fully committed to going, and probably some more that will show up. I also got on the SC Box 2s, we got news from Mike with Helium Street this morning that his preferred vendor on eBay, OEM Miner, they're going to be back in stock of SC Box 2s come May 20th. So I know those have gotten, the prices have gone up and they're getting a little hard to come by, but yeah, I guess they're getting a little bit more supply here towards the end of the month.
And that's really nifty, right? Pegged beautifully to fork date.
To fork day, that's right.
Who knows what the shipping's going to be, or, I mean, shipping time and all that stuff. That's not the point. But we know people have been looking for those things. They grow your sprouts and they dry your socks and they...
warm bananas if you need them, a banana warmer.
There you go.
Yeah.
Banana warmer. That's a totally different thing. Don't Google that. Don't Google banana warmer.
So one last bit of chaos we can touch on. It looks like just before we started the call, I think, or maybe even amidst it, there's been a bit of a purge on the SCP Discord.
Oh no.
Just kind of following. It looks like
Uncool
everyone everyone in the SCP server that hasn't logged into Discord or opened Discord in the last 30 days got bounced. So
Oh
our
wow.
server count or our member count has halved.
Member count is now 13.
So yeah, so now we're basically down to the people that are actually active in the community. Then I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing at all.
Well, we went from 11,000 members to 5,500, but our number of like currently online members didn't change. And
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it wouldn't have because obviously they wouldn't be bounced if they're online. But just kind of funny to see. Yeah, we worked hard to get to 11,000 members, and then now the
What's
great purge.
What's crazy to me is we have a 1,150 online, but there's only ever like 9 of us that talk. Where are
I think
these?
there's a lot that lurk.
Yeah.
I never was good at lurking because I always
Yeah.
see somebody fuck something up and then have to step in and correct them. But
I think we all know I'm not good at lurking either.
yeah.
Especially after 34 truly mangoes.
Yeah, good point about Trulies. All right, guys. Well, yeah, that was a good running to an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah, we can mention it again. Yeah, final reminder.
Update your shit.
Update your shit. Go to the website. Go to the guides. It's pretty simple, but make sure you get that done. Like I said, you got about 7 days, 8 days, maybe 9 days before the fork. If you don't get it done, you're going to lose everything. So,
I got a question, Henry. I missed the call. Is there an update for CLIs?
I gave the good news this week. So the good news is that we've made kind of a pre-announcement. The details aren't circulating yet, but you can expect in the next week or so, if you have a basic license, to be able to upgrade to a full for just $150. So that's half off the normal. And you also get kicked 1,000 SPFB if it has a similar remit process to. So if you hand back the 6-month rebate, I guess, from the basic that they got, then you get 1,000 SPFB
for the basic rebate. Got it. Now continuing my question, if I'm running a 20-year-old Mac Mini and it doesn't support the full and it's got running in the command line, do I need to port to Linux?
Don't fully know the answer to that. I know we really like Linux, so if that's
can I update can I update my SPD on that Mac in command line, or there's no software being written for command line to update the fork, or is there?
To update the fork.
If I'm running a basic version of Linux, will there be an update before the fork?
Yeah.
Oh, there is.
SPD 180, that's already out, right?
But okay, that's what I'm asking. Yeah.
Oh, is there a release in the go to the?
Just asking because I didn't get to watch. Good. That helps us now. That helps us this week, right? That keeps people who aren't upgraded to full yet, who want to take advantage of this. You can still update your basic, right?
Yep.
Get your basic in line, so that
right here, right here under the software tab where you tried to direct us earlier. Yeah, it's the command line.
Yeah, that was the first place we put SPD 180. So for close to a week already, I think it was maybe Monday when that got put out. So yeah,
and then
so
Web Wallet,
a number of people have already upgraded. Yeah, Web Wallet also just got bumped up to 0.34, so that's fork ready as well. I think really the only thing that there's left to do on our end anyway is push the full Examiner population. So we pushed kind of our Examiner beta units, which are just people that have in the community volunteered to kind of be the first people to a new image. So we pushed to them, myself included, about 2 days ago. So we've been running pretty stably for a couple days, and then I think probably in the next day or two we're going to push to the full population.
Fantastic.
But we're a little hesitant or a little conservative, I guess, when it comes to pushing images. We do the full beta population, which is maybe 20 or so units. We watch them like hawks for a couple days, and then if they're all happy, then we push to the full population.
That's kind of how you have to do it, though. I wouldn't say that's overly cautious.
Yeah, we're doing because literally doing it live, right? This is
Yeah.
that's the network right there.
Yeah.
Well then, gentlemen, I think it's time to go make some pizza dough and crack open some Trulies and maybe
you're making tomorrow's pizza dough, right?
Who? For me? For Ken?
Well, I thought you made pizza dough today and enjoy it tomorrow because you can't make it the same day.
72.
But I happen to have a pizza restaurant, so we got to make a lot. We just got to keep making dough.
Okay.
72 hours of proofing. That's the magic number, right?
Yeah.
Is that how long the block takes to mature?
That's the pizza block time, yeah.
That's how long your SPF claims take. One pizza proof.
All right, fellas. Well, Henry, thanks for coming on again this week. We really appreciate it. We always enjoy your insights and
good to have a morning hang.
Yeah.
And then hope everybody touches some grass out there. It's sunny for me, and I'm gonna go enjoy a bike ride.
Yeah. I'm taking off after this, and the family's going to a spot out here called Cold Springs. A little snow melt fed creek outside of Vegas. I need to get out of the city for a little bit. So
lovely.
Fantastic.
All right,
guys. Thank you for everybody.
Subscribe.
Oh yeah, subscribe, like,
hit the bell icon.
Yeah, hit the bell. Smash the bell.
This is our first time going live on YouTube too, right? We hope this thing recorded. I don't know. We've been talking for an hour, so hope it's out there. Thank you for tuning in. And hope you learned something. You can tweet us or Facebook us, or I don't know.
Or drop, if you have questions, we'll be paying a lot more attention to the YouTube. So drop any questions down in the comment section, and we'll get to them eventually.
Yeah, more not. And then do it again and keep bothering us. Tell your friends. Do whatever you want.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys. Thanks to David for doing this. And cut. It worked nice.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Dang, he got it right on point too. Is this the outro music time where we're supposed to quit talking also?
Just
Hold on, vape noises. Calming sounds of vape juice.
Today's episode is brought to you by Trader Joe's Fort Collins, store number 304, located at 3500 South College Avenue, Suite 110, Fort Collins, Colorado, 80525.
Open since 2015.
Don't rub it in. Yay!
Good one, guys.
I forgot about the chat box. There was no way for me I didn't have the stream up because I knew it would throw off my timing. Were people actually asking questions?
Oh, those are your. Yeah. So, hey, that was great of you to prompt that, David. And that's a good time for you to say, hey, we got a question in the chat box and they want to ask us about this thing. Can you guys talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that was good.
No criticism, just like I thought you were just bringing these things out of your own head.
Yeah. I picked up after the second question. I was like, oh yeah, chat box.
Jeff, you might want to change the password for the Henry user.
Yeah, I know. I realized that. It was in the Discord window. I thought I was being all sneaky, and then I looked up. I've got a laptop and the big screen going, and I looked up at the big screen and I watched it click back from Discord, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, shit, that wasn't private."
Jeff's gonna have a $2,000 hit on his credit card next month from 4 petabytes uploaded.
Oh, I knew I could just for what peta who peta what? I knew I could just trash it afterwards or change it.
Yeah.
Let's whatever, Henry. I'm going to change it to